Great. Okay, well, welcome to our training this morning. I'll go ahead and get started and introduce myself. My name is Maddie Oakley. I'm the Instructional Technology Coordinator for the West Region. So my job is to help teachers use technology effectively in their teaching. But we often work with many staff members, admin, folks in your roles. And last year, I had a chance to meet with an elementary counselor who expressed that, like many staff groups in the district, sometimes elementary counselors get overlooked with their needs. So they advocated, like, could we maybe get some type of training around different systems in technology that's geared specifically towards our role instead of being geared towards teachers and trying to pick things up from there. So that's the intention of this training today. Before I was in this role, I taught elementary for 13 years in the district. Most of those years were at Kenmore Elementary, but a little bit of time at Kokanee and at Morelands Elementary. I'm a big supporter of elementary counselors. When I taught at Kenmore Elementary, we were one of the first schools in the district to have an elementary counselor that we actually originally paid using title funds. We just knew that we could be more effectively meeting student and family needs. Yes, I know Kendra is the best, Haley. We can effectively meet student needs if we had elementary counselors. And a little bit of background with that as well. My kids, who are now in middle school this year, went to a school that didn't have a counselor. And when North Shore was considering, should we have elementary counselors or not, I did go to the school board meeting and advocate that we should have elementary counselors and just talk about what an impact that your role made at the school I taught at and how I hoped that my children would have the same benefit in their school as well. So love you guys. You're amazing. And I'm happy to work with you today. I do know some things about being an elementary counselor, but obviously you guys are the experts. So if there's anything that I have assumed for the training today about what you need and you want to pop in the chat or unmute and clarify something, please do. I'm also more than happy to continue working with your group throughout the year. If you have any meetings and you want me to come in and talk about a specific topic, I'm happy to do that. So I'm just really excited to partner with you guys. And keep in mind, I am an expert on a lot of the tools that I'll talk about today, but I'm not an expert on all of them. I'm going to give kind of an overview and general view on some of them. And if there are further questions, we'll take note of those and make sure that they get addressed by people later who are the experts. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll look at our agenda for today. So we're in our welcome section. I'm right on time. We've met that in 5 minutes. Then we'll spend some time looking at Microsoft Outlook and bookings, just looking at tips and tricks for using Outlook more efficiently and for using bookings to help folks be able to book time with you for meetings and do it without you having to email back and forth to find a specific time. It connects directly to your calendar and lets people book time with you. We'll do a little bit of a look at Synergy and what information you can access as a counselor in Synergy and some maybe best practices for using that. Then we'll take a 5-minute break and we'll move on to looking at Schoology and Seesaw, which are our learning management systems. And we'll talk about ways that you can push out content to students and families. Then we'll spend some time looking at Google Drive and some tips and tricks for organization. I'll take another break. And the last 2 things we'll talk about will be about Google Sites and Clever. Google Sites is a way that you can create a website that I think might be helpful in your role to show off some different resources that families and students can access independently. So we'll go over that. And then Clever, I'll just kind of give an overview of Clever, what it looks like for students and teachers, what it looks like for you, what you can ask your STS to possibly add to your school's portal, and all those types of things. So that's our agenda for today. And we're going to go ahead and dive into it. I'm really excited that you guys are all here. Okay. One thing I do want to do real quickly before I forget is I'm going to go ahead and take attendance right now, so you don't have to fill anything out. And if I do it right while I'm teaching, then I don't forget to do it later. So give me just a second to do that. Okay. Oh. Got a question in the chat right now, and I'm going to multitask and do attendance and look at the question. Deanna's wondering if we need to update our school website, who would be our best contact for help with that? When we get to that part, could you address it? I'll address that right now, Deanna. The best person to contact for making sure that the school website, like nsc.org/Woodmore, whatever your school is, that would be your STS. STSs, are not required to start until the very beginning of the year, but oftentimes start a day or two early, to help with setup and use their professional hours that way. So that is who you would contact for that. They should be able to help you with that. All right, I don't see Jennifer Brisbane. No, okay. Zena is here. Jeanette, thanks for being patient with me. Nicole is here. Deanna's got that question. Joan, I saw her name. Mary. Jimmy is here. Christine. Don't see Linda. Sherry is here. Fun fact, I taught Sherry's son, who's now starting college soon. I taught him when he was in 4th grade. So I hope Will's getting excited about getting started.
Yes, I was just thinking about that when I was coming to the meeting now.
I know, you're like, wow, times change, right? Things move fast. All right.
Yeah.
I've got you guys in here. Great. Thanks for bearing with me. And we'll go ahead and move on to looking at Outlook and bookings. Okay. I won't be going a lot over Excel or data collections, Jeanette, but I do have some folks in the district that I can set up later to connect with you guys about best ways to use some of the data that you have access to and how to put that into Excel. That's definitely not my area of expertise, but I can definitely find someone where that is their area of expertise. Anytime I need to do something in Excel, I'm like, okay, let me Google what I'm trying to do. Okay, let me write a note about that.
Thank you so much, Maddie.
Yeah, of course. Okay, Excel and data collection. So I will check with Angie Hancock, who is one of our like synergy and data specialists. She's also created like a data dashboard that our admins have been shown, but that might be something that would be really helpful for you guys to see as well. So I'll get her connected with you guys. So first, we're going to talk about Microsoft Outlook and bookings. We all know Outlook is something that you have to use, but there are ways that you can use it more effectively. So I wanted to show those things. And then I really wanted to show off bookings as well, which is a really great tool. All right, so we'll start just right in my inbox. I'll let you know right away. I have a system that works for me and everyone has a system that works for them. So I generally will go like a month and delete things here and there and archive things here and there. And then at the end of the month, I'll do like a big clean out. So right now we're not at the end of the month and I have a lot of things in here. So some things that I wanted to show you about Outlook. There is a app that you can download and use for Outlook, but generally the browser version of Outlook does function more reliably than the desktop app. So if you are ever having issues with the desktop app, if you've downloaded and you're trying to use that, you can go ahead and try using the browser version instead. That can be more helpful. You've probably already played around with creating folders in Outlook. I have a lot of folders, but if you scroll to the end of your folders list, there's an option to create a new folder. Some other things that I wanted to show, though, that you might not have paid attention to before are flagging, pinning, rules, and snoozing. I think I showed the snoozing trick to a few principals last week, and a lot of them were really excited about it. So for instance, I have this email right now from a Bothell High School office manager who's wanting to get a fax machine working. I can't handle this right now, and it's not my area of expertise either, but I do want to make sure that she gets connected with who needs help. So I'm going to show you the snooze feature right now. So I can either do a secondary click and open up this option, or I can select this email and come over to this little clock icon up on the top bar. And this allows me to remove this email from my inbox, but bring it right back at a different time. So I can choose from an auto-selected time later today, this evening, tomorrow, or set a date and time as well. So this is really nice if you know you have something that you need to get to, but it doesn't have to happen right now. I like this news because then it pops right back up for me. So I'm going to choose later today. Let's have that email pop back up. So that's one of my favorite fun Outlook features that not everyone knows. Also, some great options that you might not have known before. Let's say you get an email that has information that you're referring to often, either for a temporary amount of time or for the entire school year. You have the option when you hover over an email to pin the email. So if I click this pin icon, it will keep the message now at the top of my folder. So it will always be up there at the top. I don't have to go searching for it. I don't even have to put it in a folder of like important emails and then search for it. I can pin it and it stays at the top of my email inbox. So that can be a really helpful feature if you haven't used that one. The other quick feature that I really appreciate having is the flag feature. So again, if you hover, you'll have this little flag icon. If I click that, it changes the color from just a general white to yellow. This can help me see it when I'm scanning my emails. Another thing is if I flag an email and I don't reply to it, you'll get a reminder from Outlook eventually saying, you flagged this email, but you haven't replied. Do you want to do something with this? So that can be really helpful to help you remember about different emails to reply to. Okay, so I wanted to show those. The next thing I'll show is rules. So here in settings, so my name's up in the top right corner, and then I've got the light bulb and the settings gear. I'm going to click settings, and in search settings, I'm going to type rules. I'm going to type inbox rules. I have a few different rules, and depending on what types of emails you get, who you get them from, you might want to do this for a variety of reasons. One thing in my role is I will get email notifications anytime that anyone related to my team gets a help desk ticket assigned to them. And I don't need to see all of those emails in my inbox all the time. It really can clutter it up. I might want to look at them later, but I don't want them in my inbox. So you can create a rule. I'm going to make this like my IQ help desk. You name the rule, you add a condition. If the email is from a certain email address, if I'm CC'd on it, I'm not in the actual email. It's not to me. If the subject includes certain words, if there are certain keywords, right? There's a lot of different conditions that you can choose. Most often I would choose from and then write the email address. So for instance, with IIQ tickets, I would go over and copy that email address that those are sent from. It's probably something like no reply at iiq.com. Okay. So if I get an email from this email, I want it to move to a certain folder. And from here, I can pick a folder that I already have, or I can create a new folder as well. If the folder I want to use that already exists is not here, I can also click move to a different folder. I could also right away when I get those emails, maybe I'm getting one that's not being marked as junk. I can mark it as junk. I could mark it with importance. I could forward it or redirect it to a different person. I could just delete it right away, depending on the email. So those are, this can be really helpful if you are connected to any systems that send you routine emails and you don't want them in your inbox right away. That's a really great option for what you can do. I'm not going to actually create this rule, but if I was, I would go ahead and click save and do this. And you can also choose to run the rule immediately, and it will grab all of the emails that fit those requirements and move them into that folder. So this can be really helpful with keeping things clearer in your inbox. Oh, I did create the rule. Oopsie. It's not going to work though, because I did a made up email. I'm just going to delete it now. Okay. So that's the rules. So we've taken care of looking at pinning, flagging, snoozing, and rules. Two more things that I want to show you that you may have already set up, but I want to make sure that we discuss some like best practices. And we do have folks who are new to the district as well, so we want to go over everything. Is also in settings, I want to talk about email signatures and out of office messages. I know sometimes we're out of office for a meeting, a conference, being on vacation. We want to make sure that folks know how to reach us or who they should reach instead. So if I start typing out of office, the way that shows up in Microsoft Outlook is automatic replies. Okay. So automatic replies is something you can turn on. I like to, when I use it, I like to choose send replies only during a time period, so I don't have to remember to toggle it back off. So if I'm going to be gone for even one day, I'll go ahead and set it for that time period. You can also choose to block your calendar for that period or decline new invitations that happen during that period. But it's important that folks know how long they should expect that you'll be unavailable and who they should contact instead of you if they need more immediate support. So those are my tips for making sure you have a good out of office. It can be pretty simple. As you can see, mine isn't that complicated. You can also choose to set a out of office for replies outside of your organization. So you might say, create one that is geared towards teachers and staff that goes in this box. And you might create one here that when it gets replied to everyone, you know that you're going to be sending that out of office reply to parents. So maybe in your role, the first one would say, I'm going to be out of the office. Here's this other counselor you can contact if you have a question that goes to staff. Also remember, here's my bookings link if you need to book time with me when I'm back. But then the parent one, or the one that goes to everyone who contacts you outside of the organization, would say something like, I'm not available until this time. Please contact the office if you have a question about something. So just those ideas that you can have different audiences here. And then you would click save, and that out of reply would start, or the out of office reply would start whenever you had set it to start. I'm not going to do that. I see I've got some things in the chat here real quick. Let's see. What would be the best way to handle regular days of the week you aren't at work if you are half-time? Just adding the days you work on your signature, or is there a way to set up regular automatic replies? That's a really good question, Deanna. In your situation, if it's like I work Monday, Tuesday, and every other Wednesday, I think I would start with making sure that I have that information in my signature at the very bare minimum and make sure it's very clear and easy to read. Then if I would find that I'm still getting a lot of questions or inquiries that are maybe assuming that I'm going to reply when I'm not working, then I would maybe start experimenting with setting those out of office replies and just put it into my end of the week tasks of like, I'm just going to turn it on. The other nice thing, Deanna, is you can't, like if I turn on automatic replies and do it during a time period, I can't set it up to do this chunk of time and then this chunk of time and then this chunk of time and make it recurring. But whatever I put as my automatic reply gets saved until I change it the next time. So you're at least not starting from scratch every single time. So yeah, I would start with your signature, having that information, see how that works for you and see if you need to add more. Okay. Yes, and Haley's correct. If you do not select send replies to outside your organization when you're out of the office, anytime a family contacts you, they won't get any out of office reply. Only people with @nsc.org emails will get the out of office reply. In my role, I often only do inside my organization because I don't really work with families as much as you guys might. So I don't use it as much, but I would recommend you using it. Okay, any other questions about out of office? That was a really helpful one, Deanna, to make sure we clarified that. Okay. All right, great. I'm going to go ahead and talk about the signature now. And I also have a general tip as well. Okay. For our signatures, again, we're in settings, we search signature, we can get there right away. You can see for my signature, I have my name, I have my role, I have my schools that I work with, the name of the school district, my pronouns, and just my general email again. Some people also put in their signature images, they put in their office phone number, they put in maybe like a quote or something that is inspiring to them. Here are my tips. The most important things to have in your signature: your name, your role, and your location. That's the most important things. And I wish every single person in the district was required to have a signature that had those things, because we definitely get emails sometimes asking, hey, can you help me with this? And I have no idea what school the person is at or anything like that. So if you can include those things in your signature, it's going to be really helpful for folks who are trying to get in contact with you. What else? Oh, the key thing here that you can see in my signature is that I am using a very clear and legible font. This is really important. It seems basic, but it's very important. I cannot tell you how many times I, as a parent, get emails from teachers or office staff at times that they've written in like a script font, and it is so difficult to read. So please, for your signature and your email compositions, do not use a script font. The best practice is to use a sans serif font where there aren't little lines at the top or bottom of the letters. So I'll show you some examples here. Okay. So I'm using Arial. Some things I wouldn't recommend using would be Times New Roman is fine, but it can still be a little bit harder to read. I would not use any handwriting fonts or anything like that. They're just much more difficult for folks to read. some people might say that, like, Comic Sans looks a little too unprofessional, but it is actually a very legible font. So if you prefer using that, that's fine. But my go-to is just using Arial and making sure that it's just very clean and easy for folks to read. So this is a good recommendation for signatures, but also remember when you're composing emails to use a nice, clear, legible font, okay? You can also see in my signature, we've got a nice segue into bookings and people being able to book time with you. So I'm going to go ahead. There's more in here too. You can see, you can set different signatures and use different ones for replies versus new messages. So there's more to play around with in there as well. But I'm going to move on to talking about bookings now. Okay. All right. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go to my booking page. And I'm just going to show you what my bookings page looks like from the point of view of if someone wanted to book time with me, okay? So I'm showing you the finished product, and then I'll show you how I got my finished product to look like this. So if you clicked on my link in my email, this is what you would come to. It's my booking page. You could choose to meet with me for 15 minutes virtually, 30 minutes virtually, or a 30-minute on-site meeting. And when you click on the type of meeting that you want, it will show you when, with the green circles, what days I'm available and what days I'm not available, times that I'm available, gives you all these different options. And this is all connected to my Outlook calendar. So if I already have a meeting at a certain time, it will not show that time as bookable. So if someone picks a certain time and then clicks next, they'll put in their name, their email address, and any notes about what they're wanting to meet about with you. I'm going to go ahead and do it. Simple. Book. I might break it because Maddie is booking time with Maddie. It might be like, what are you doing? What's happening here? Oh, it's still working. So then on my calendar, when did I book time for? Let's see. I think I booked it for the 29th. Let me get everyone else off of here. 10:30. Let's look at the work week. Here we go. So now you can see on my own calendar, I can see that Maddie Oakley has booked a 15-minute virtual meeting with me, and it shows up right here on my calendar. If I need to cancel the meeting, I can cancel it right from here, or I can go to my version of bookings here. And let's see, it won't show me here who's booked with me. So I should, if I want to cancel a meeting that someone has booked, I'll want to do it here from the calendar. So I'm going to go ahead and click cancel, and I can write a message of why it's canceled. And this was a test. That's why. All right. Good question, Deanna. I wanted to show you what it looked like from like someone who's trying to book an appointment with me from their perspective. And now I'll show you about getting started. So to go to bookings, you can start in Outlook or in Calendar, whatever Outlook option you're in, and then you'll click on the 3x3 array that's in the top left corner. I did send a list of people registered for this course, and I sent it to our Google and Microsoft admin person, and I asked him to make sure that you guys all have access to bookings. However, I did that for a training last week, and there were still a few people that had some issues. So I'm going to show you how to get to bookings. And if you click on it and you're not able to get to a page that kind of looks like this, put in the chat that you're not able to have access, and we'll work on getting you access in the future. And then you'll just kind of watch what I'm doing and try it on your own later. Okay. So if you click on this grid and you see bookings, go ahead and click on it. And then it should look like this. If you click on this 3x3 array and you don't see bookings, and then you click explore all your apps, you would hopefully be able to see it here, or click get more apps and search for bookings. You can also go to, here it is right here, popular bookings. So if you click on bookings and you're getting an error message that says like you don't have access or anything like that, remember, put something in the chat. If you did click on bookings and it does look kind of like this, can you send me a thumbs up in the chat so I know that you were able to access it?
So Maddie,
Let's
I
see.
have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So if as we go to that icon, and then if we don't, even though we explore all the whatever, that Microsoft, and if I don't see booking itself, then there's no way I can like download it or something, that we just have to wait for district to give us the permission to do this.
Yeah, you have to have the permissions, but I'm going to send this link as well. Try that
but
one.
I also don't see it on mine either.
You don't see the bookings icon. Yeah, we had this issue last week with some principals where it was like they didn't, even though we had asked, like, can you make sure this is available? It wasn't showing up yet. The same thing with clicking on the link and then clicking sign in. Did that not work as well? I'm able to sign in through the web link. Okay, so Nicole was able to get in through the web link. So give that a try, the link that I just sent, and let me know if that is working or not.
If we can't get it to work, then is it because we're in this class, they're gonna automatically work on that, or do we need to put in a help?
Yes, no, if you don't get it to work, put in the chat, I'm still not able to get it to work, and then I will contact Adam and say, hey, like these folks still don't have access. Can you look at their account and make sure it's going through? So take a look. Let me know if you can or can't get in, and then I will let Adam know who needs access.
Maddie, as the link
Yeah.
that as you sent us, I'm like, I signed in, but I see like a Microsoft booking online scheduling your customer will love. That's like a first page I'm getting. They're not leading anything. So
it's not actually getting you in bookings. Yeah. Oh, okay.
But
So
Jimmy, did you sign in, Jimmy? Because you can sign in from that page.
well, the Maddie, the link that she sent, when I click it, it's automatically signed in. So it shows like a Lone Shore School District and my name, view my account, my Microsoft 3635 profile. So
okay. I made an account before and mine opens up to my name. So that's interesting. Did you make an account before, Jimmy?
No, I didn't have.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's why mine opens up to my name.
Okay,
I mean, I was able to sign in, but like I'm kind of looking at my account, but it doesn't show as a what Maddie is showing us at the page like that. So I don't know where to go because it says the North Shore School District, my account, it says my name.
I'm just so you know, I'm on my phone chatting the person who's like in charge of giving access right now. So I'm just letting him know to like check on that list of folks that I sent yesterday and make sure they have access. So just Jimmy, so you know, that's why I'm not paying attention. Go ahead.
Sorry, Maddie. Jimmy, I think you press on the icon to the left and press on Outlook. See if you can access your calendar that way. Is that what you're asking?
because for the icon with apps, I don't see the
Yeah,
booking. So
go to the left. Oh, it says bookings and then click on the
right, the
grid.
thing is that I don't have the booking icon for the
I don't either. I'm going from the website that she sent us. So
right.
she's
So that's
working
I
on doing
went to. That's how I signed in. But it's not showing like the page that is Matt is showing.
And Jeanette, is that who's talking, who was able to get in?
Yeah, I think I just have exactly what Jimmy has.
Oh, okay.
When I click on Outlook, still don't have the icon on my actual email, but when I click on Outlook through the link that you sent, I can access my my mail, but I still don't have the icon.
Okay, got it. All right.
Even though I'm
I have
logged in.
sent a message to Adam about troubleshooting, getting you guys access. So he'll look into that. As I mentioned before, we did a training with some admin folks on this, and a lot of them were having issues getting in as well. So what I'm going to do is show bookings and how to create things. And then this will have a recording. I'll send that recording to you guys, and you can relook over this when you do have access to get things set up. Okay. So I did try my best on making sure you had access before the class, but it sounds like you're still having issues with getting in there. So my apologies for that, but I'll give you a little tour of how to get started. Okay. So for now, watch, listen, and learn. And unfortunately, you can't try it at the same time as me, but I'll give you this little preview here. So for personal booking page, once you're in here in bookings, you'll click go to my booking page. Okay. When you get in for the first time, you won't have anything here, public or private. I'm going to go ahead and delete. I do have someone saying I'm creating a bookings page. It's asking if I want to invite staff. Do you have insight on the best practice for this piece? I would skip inviting staff because it's probably meaning like, do you want other people to also like be able to manage your bookings page? So just skip that part. Okay. Okay. So, this will be empty. I want to explain the difference between public and private for bookings. Public means when people click on your bookings page right here, they're going to see, let me go back to it here. Share link. They're going to see those public meetings as options to sign up with you. Okay. Private means those specific meetings will only be available to people that have that specific link. So thinking through what I think how you might want to use it as an elementary counselor. So you might meet with families, you might meet with teachers, you might meet with I would assume that you're probably not like having students sign up for a meeting with you using bookings, but I would guess teachers and families are who you'll use this with the most. So you might decide that for public, you'll have a 30-minute meeting and a 15-minute meeting, and anyone can access those, whether it's a teacher or a family member. And what you'll do is when it says public, these will appear on your booking page. You'll click this plus sign, and you will be filling in information about what is this type of meeting. So especially if it's time-based, I always put that in the title. So 45-minute meeting. And then I would make a description. You don't have to have one, but you might say something like 45-minute meetings are good for when you want to discuss X, Y, and Z. Location, you can put in your office if that's where you want to meet. I would uncheck Teams meeting, if you don't plan on having this meeting virtually using Teams, which you probably wouldn't be doing, I would uncheck that, because if you don't, when people get a confirmation email, it will say, like, click here to join the Teams meeting when we have the meeting. And that can be confusing for folks. Even if it says you're meeting in an office, they might think that they're supposed to meet with you virtually. So I recommend checking that off. And then set the amount of time for the meeting. And since you chose public, it will appear on your public bookings page. When it says use my regular meeting hours, that is set through Outlook. It's kind of like where your work hours are set. So if you click on see regular meeting hours, it brings you to your settings here in Outlook. And your meeting hours are here in work hours and location. So you got to go down to that. So this shows what hours it says you're working and that you're available. Okay. So if the hours set in Outlook are accurate, then you can just use those hours. But you can also set custom hours. Sorry, just trying to click. There we go. So instead of using regular meeting hours, I can use custom availability hours. So if instead of 8 to 5, I want to say that on Mondays, and this will be really important for folks who might be part-time, either in Outlook or here in bookings, make sure you set what days you're available and that you're not available on those other days. You can set your hours here. There's also some advanced options where you can also create a buffer. I do recommend using this. So buffering time before meeting. I typically, with in-person meetings, because they can run long, I will often do a 10 or 15-minute buffer. You can limit your start time to 30-minute intervals. What that means is that meetings can start at 8, 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30. You can also change it to 5-minute intervals. So people could pick 8, 8:05, 8:10, depending on when you're available. Lead time means how much time is required before people can book an appointment with you. So if you are teaching lessons in classrooms and someone books a meeting with you right after you're done teaching a lesson and they booked it an hour ahead of time, that might not be enough warning for you and you might not be prepared for it. So you might want to say, for my minimum lead time, I need at least 12 hours or 1 day. So then people would not be able to book with you an hour from now. They'd have to have that minimum amount of time. The maximum lead time just means that they can't go farther than 90 days or more or less into the future to book time with you. Okay. You can also set up to send reminder emails to the person booking time with you before the appointment. And you can select the timing of those reminders and what the message will say. And you can also send follow-up emails to collect feedback from people who booked time with you, or to remind them to book another appointment. So you can have an automatic one that says, thanks for meeting with me. If you have any further questions, book time with me again, or connect with me via email. So a lot of options in there. The other thing, I'll just go ahead and go back. The other thing I want to show though is this private section. I like this for if a parent is wanting to meet with you and you want to have a specific amount of time that they can book with you. You don't want them to be able to book 90 days from now. You're talking about meeting next week and you want them to just be looking at that time frame. You can do private, and that way you'll get a link and you'll share it with just that family, and it's not showing up on your public bookings page. So if a teacher clicks on your bookings link, they're not going to see that just 1 week time frame. So if I do private, it has the same options here. But what I would do is I would, still give it a title. Meet with Ms. Oakley. I would set my time, location, and all of that. But I would do custom availability hours, and I would also choose only during the following date range. So that's something that you can do here. So if they're going to meet with you next week, you can say they can book between the 28th and the 1st. You can set those times. Let's say you only wanted to be available in the mornings to meet with them. You could adjust it, and it would only do that for this meeting.
Maddie, can I
So-
ask a quick question? So when a parent is signing up, can we go back in and change it to private? Because I'm thinking like if I'm signing up a time with a parent, I can do this, but I'm guessing the parent wouldn't have that option to check private.
So can you restate your question?
So you're scheduling the parent right now and you have the option to put private. But when I'm sending my bookings link to someone, they book it, right? And so they're obviously not going to have the opportunity to press private, but can we go back in and change it to private?
Gotcha. I see what you're saying. So private means only people that have the link for this specific meeting type can view it. It doesn't mean, I'm trying to figure out what to say here. What it means is that it's not going to show up here as an option on your bookings page as choose a meeting type, right? It's not going to have that specific time frame for a family member. And it'll look different. Let me save this one and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. We're gonna do 30 minutes. Okay. So we're gonna save this. Okay, so this private one, right, is down here in this private section. And if I refresh this bookings page, it's still not going to show up, right? It doesn't have that, it doesn't have the option to choose the that private one. But if I copy this link here, so I'm going to copy the link for the private one and share that with someone. Now it's giving them a link just for that meeting type. So it's not showing my other bookings options, and it's only showing for that time frame that I mentioned. And it's not something that is an option that's like in my signature, right? For the book with me, it's a very specific link saying, here's this meeting type. The other nice thing about private ones is you can share that link, but you can also make it a single use link so that when you send it to people, it can only get used one time. So that way, let's say you share a meeting link with a parent and you've done single use. If they are talking to another parent on the playground and like, oh yeah, I'm going to meet with Ms. Oakley today. We need to talk about like some issues that my kid is having. And the other parent's like, oh, I wanted to meet with her too. If the parent forwards like the link that you sent, it's not going to work for the other parent. So that's kind of what I like about single use is that it's single use. And so if you are setting up a specific time for appointments for a specific purpose, it can't be forwarded and sent to other people. Okay. All right. So I wanted to show that the private one and that option to do the single use link. You can also, once you've set up a private meeting, you could change your mind and change it to make it a public meeting, and that will move it over to your public section. And you can go back and make it private instead. One way that I use private is when I am going out to a school for one day and I'm making sure that teachers can book time with me. I'll do something like Maywood Hills visit 30 minutes, and I would do custom availability hours. And I would say I'm going out on Monday. That's the only day I'll be there. And then those teachers only get the option to meet with me on Monday. So I could see you guys maybe using this during like conference week, where you set up one that's custom availability only during conference week. So things like that. And then Deanna was asking about, well, how do we really share this with people? So there's a few different options. Let me just save this. I'm going to delete my little sample ones here, because I'm not actually using those. Okay. All right. So for sharing your bookings link and having that live way so that people can get to it, you would click share, and it's pretty simple. You either copy the link, share it via email, but you can also put it immediately in your signature. So when you click share and then click email signature settings, if you check or uncheck this, include a link to my bookings page in my signature, that just sets it right up inside of your signature. So that's a really great way to put it in your signature. If you prefer, let's do save. If you prefer, you can also copy the link, then go to your signature. Because maybe I don't really like the font that's in that it looks like this way. I can uncheck include a link, and I can put my own text like book an appointment with me. And I have copied that link. So now I can add the link here, paste it, and now people can click on this link to book an appointment with me. So either of those works, either having that link, could even paste it. If I do paste, it won't, Microsoft has it set up so that, excuse me, if I do copy the link and paste it in a text box, it will also do this kind of auto creating a hyperlink instead of doing, Microsoft.com/booking/ABCDEFG, it will show it like this. So those are those few different options for how we can put it in our signature. Okay. All right. I also just want to make sure that you guys know that after I get word from Adam that this is all set, if you are thinking to yourself, wow, that was really helpful, and I'm really excited to use bookings, but even watching the video, like I'm feeling nervous about if I have this set up correctly or anything like that, you can book time with me to do a little overview of bookings. And if you have it set up correctly, I'm happy to do that. Also, all of the instructional technology coordinators are very well versed in bookings, and we can help you with that. So Gavin Molitor works with the South region, Pete Connors works with the East region, and Josh Emond works with the North region. So you can book with me or the person in your specific region as well. Okay. The other thing that I just wanted to mention, you can see that when we were in bookings, people could book time with me based on my availability in Outlook. So if you, I know when I was a teacher, I did not use Outlook Calendar. It didn't really, it wasn't really that important to me. I knew my schedule and what I was doing. So if you are teaching lessons to classes and you have a weekly schedule of when you meet with classes and, it's up on your wall, but you don't have it in Outlook Calendar, if it says you're available on Outlook Calendar, people will be able to book time with you during that time. So make sure you block out any time that you're doing something and busy in Outlook Calendar so that people don't book time with you using bookings. So that's the other important part. Okay. All right. Let's see. Any, besides the getting access and getting in there and making it work, any other questions about bookings or Microsoft Outlook? Don't see any unmuting. So I'm going to go ahead and move on before we take our first break. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about synergy. I think we'll have to push our break time a little bit, or actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do our break now, and then we'll come back and do synergy. So we're going to do a 5-minute break. We'll come back at 9:32, and we'll start talking about synergy and what you can do in there. Okay, so let's do 5-minute timer. Do a little break, do a little bio break, and I will see you when the break is up. All right, thanks everyone. All right, and we're back. Righty. Let's get into synergy. Welcome back, welcome back. Deanna was asking, will you be talking about how to update 504s in synergy as well? I will not. As I mentioned, I am not a synergy expert. I'm going to show you a few different things you can do and some things that might be helpful for you with synergy. I'm going to also show you where you can find more synergy resources, and I will let you know who to talk to with synergy questions. So I'm going to start with the who to talk to with synergy questions for if there's anything that you're like, can I do this? Can I do that? Can we get a report for this or that? We actually have folks that work in the tech department who their whole entire specialty is synergy. So that the main person for that is Shar Brown. And her email is cbrown@nsd.org. I mentioned last week that we did a little training for admin, some principals that were able to come to that. She did a presentation for them, and it might be something that in the future, again, like if you have a counselor's meeting, if you want her to come in and talk about a specific topic, she can do that as well. So she's great. She's very knowledgeable, and she is able to, help create specific types of reports that you might want that aren't there yet. So if you ever want to know how to do something really specific, or maybe even create a way to do something, Shar is your person. So I'm going to give a little overview in tips and tricks of navigation, and I'm going to show you where in the staff toolbox you can find more information as well. So I'm going to start with the staff toolbox. I'm going to go to the public version, not the editing version. All right, so staff toolbox. If you are at the staff toolbox home, you can see via navigation that one of the very first things up at the top is synergy. Okay. Now, there are a lot of different users of synergy, right? We have teachers, office staff. So there's a lot of different ways that it can be used. You're probably not going to use teacher videos and documents as much, because that's about teacher view, printing report cards, doing attendance, doing the lunch count. So you guys are in kind of a different section of synergy, right? Like you are not doing synergy gradebook, you're looking for information. So synergy user guides and quick tips, this is going to be where you're going to find a lot of information that might be helpful for you. So one tip that I'll give as well is when you're in a page like this and you're looking for something specific, if you don't know this shortcut already, pressing Command F brings up this find bar. It helps you find something on a page. So if you're looking for student profile, well, here's student attendance profile, and another student profile screen here. So if you ever are in a website or a Google Doc that has a lot of text and you're looking for something specific, try that Command F and searching for it. So keep in mind that this section of the toolbox is here, the synergy section, and many times some of the questions that you have, you can find the answer in here. But again, if not, email Shar and she'll have a lot of good tips. But what I can show you are some navigation tips here. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in. All right, so here is my my login, and your login should look fairly similar. One thing I'm going to do, I'm using right now, I've got 2 monitors. So what you're seeing is my like larger monitor screen. On a laptop, your screen is going to be even more compact. So a few things that can help with settings and being able to see things well in Synergy is up here in this little settings gear, okay? So what I want to show is you probably don't have compact view, and you probably have a full header like this. So there's a few things that you can do to help yourself with using Synergy on your computer. And clicking on the gear, if you uncheck show full header, that brings up the things that were in this gray bar. It now brings them up together into the blue bar at the top. So that can kind of consolidate things for you. The other thing that I like is there is this compact view. You won't see a huge difference with my monitor, but it can really help on a laptop on your MacBook, because if you do compact view, you can see things a lot better on the screen. So I highly recommend picking compact view in visual styles up here in settings. Another thing that you can do is you can change the, where is it? I think it was in here. I believe you can change like the theme colors if you would like. You could choose dark or light. So there are a few different options there. You can change some of the navigation modes. There's some different things to play around with here, but I definitely recommend choosing compact view and uncheck show full header. Okay. The other thing that I know some folks have found in Synergy and some haven't, if you click on the tree, this is kind of your navigation here. NOR means reports that have been created just for North Shore. So if you're wondering what that NOR means, that means that you're just going to have some specific reports that Shar and Angie have created for folks to have access to. So most of your navigation is actually going to be here in Synergy SIS. So from here, you can find some different things like going to student and clicking student. Okay, this is where you can look for student information. You can look by last name, first name. It will be based on what school you're at. So if I look for the first name John and do find, like I don't know what student I'm looking for specifically, but I know their name is John, it's going to show me all of the Johns that are at Bothell High School. So that can be helpful. Okay. And going back here, another thing that I want to point out, if you haven't found it yet, is for okay, great question. And Nicole, and you just messaged me directly, but I'm going to let you know for anyone who has issue with accessing anything and making sure they have access to any services, I would always recommend calling the help desk first, because they are able to sometimes get you into systems, but also create work tickets that direct your question to the person that can help you. If you are at school, that help desk extension is just 6688 on your school phone. If you are at home or using a cell phone, before any extension, and I'm saying this for especially for new folks, you put in 425-408 and then the extension. So that's the 6688 is all you put in when you're using a school phone, and 425-408-6688 is the phone number if you're calling from a personal phone. Okay, what I wanted to show is when you find a section of Synergy, a part of Synergy that you know you're going to be coming back to over and over again, you can, next to that name of the section, click on the little bookmark icon next to that name. And now when you click on the bookmark icon on the left, it's going to show up over here on the left for you to get back to quickly and easily in the future. So that's a really helpful feature. Let me find, I have a few that I wanted to show you, a few sections. So student is really great. Another thing you can do is in quick launch, you can search for things. like if you forgot to bookmark one and you think it's named something, you can search for things or it will show up the things you've been at more recently. So I like student, I like person search. Some other ones that are helpful are student profile. I'm just pulling these up and just bookmarking them right away. You can always come back to it later. So you would do choose a student, and then I'm seeing all the students in my school and I can go from there. Okay. Another helpful one to look at would be student accommodations. Let's see if that's going to show up. Let's look at them. Student. May not be showing up for me even because of my role. Let's see. Student. Yeah, I'm not seeing student accommodation, but you might see it in your view. Let's see. Let's also do 504. Here we've got student 504 plan details. This can be a really important one right here. So that's NACC 251, student 504 plan details. And keep in mind, if you haven't noticed already, I am recording this meeting today. So you can definitely watch this later, especially for folks who maybe don't have access immediately that might be new to the district. You can watch this back over. Let's also look at student notifications. Go. Let's bookmark that one. And I'm going to bookmark attendance verification. So there are a lot of reports in here. And if you're thinking right now to yourself, well, is there this thing or this thing or this thing in Synergy? Again, email Shar, ask her. She will let you know what reports there are, what sections there are, and she can help you with that for sure. And also look at that toolbox part as well that we were in before. That
So
can be really
Maddie, since you and I, when we talk about this technology, the synergy part, I kind of ask whether the ASAC school council will be able to access to like how the classroom teacher access to, because when we look at the student or student profile, we only see we have to type the student's name to pull out. But if we can't see as what the classroom teachers can see, like pictures of their students and the name under it. So when we click that, we don't have to kind of recall ourselves, well, what was his last name? But like, look, as a classroom teacher, what I see, their access to their kids on their classroom, the pictures
teacher
and
view.
their names. So whether we will be able to have access to it too. So when we say, oh, so-and-so's from like a Miss Smith class, I'm like, okay, but if we can go ahead and look at the synergy as what the classroom teacher can see it, we can see their, their face and then name match. Oh, this is the guy that you're talking about. So that's something that we would love to have that access to in Synergy.
Yes, I hear you. I bet there is a way for you to do that. Off the top of my head, do I know exactly how to do it? No, but I'm literally just playing around live to see if this will work. So let's see. This one is all music. Okay. I'm just wondering, like, if I click on this, will I see? I know it's giving me access denied. So I'm not sure if we'll be able to see it. I'm curious if in the, and again, classes aren't even, for most schools and most elementary schools, classes aren't published in Synergy yet. So you really wouldn't be able to see anything yet like that. But that's a great question. I can also write that down to ask Shar myself, is like, is there a view of like a course? Let's see. So you were looking for, You kind of want the attendance view or seating chart view to see all the student pictures at once, Jimmy, for a class.
Yes, right. Because for me, like over 500 students, there's no way I will be able to match with the kids and their face all the time when they're coming and talk about the students. And I have to kind of look at the, yearbook year before, kind of match that. So if we
Yeah.
have the, system already uploaded for the classroom teacher, what their access to see. So usually they come out with a laptop and show me their picture and say, oh, this is the guy I'm talking about. So if we
it.
can have access to it, that would be great
Just on your
to
own, yeah.
have that student's information, because on the classroom teacher, on the picture, their name, if they have a 504 or they have IP, it's showing right at one page.
Got
So
it.
we don't
Instead
have
of
to
having
go
to like
research
search
for
for
one
the student and you see their picture, you want to see like all the class at once with like a little mini snapshot. I've
Right,
gotcha.
exactly. So we know,
Okay.
okay, this is Miss Smith's class. We have this student with a picture, and then his IP, his a 504, his like anything it shows as a classroom teacher, we want to see it, and then we are on the same page to know more information quicker.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, I've got that marked down to ask Shar about that. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a way for you to see that and do that. Now, again, testing it right now when classes aren't live and connected with teachers yet, may not be able to access any of that, but I am sure there's a way we can get that for you. Okay. All right. What I really wanted to show there was, again, like how to bookmark, how to navigate using the tree, how to then get back to your bookmarks later, how to change some of the settings so that you can see things a little bit more clearly. So again, as I said, I am not a Synergy expert, but I just wanted to show you those few quick tips before we move on, and let you know who the people were as like your resources. So Shar Brown, cbrown@nsd.org. She's awesome and very, very knowledgeable. She'll even sometimes just like call you up and walk you through what it is that you're looking for or want to do. Okay. All right, next we're going to talk about Schoology and Seesaw. So Schoology and Seesaw are our two learning management systems. Obviously during pandemic learning, this was the only way that teachers were really able to share assignments with students. Now it's still best practice for teachers to make sure that students can see, especially in secondary, what assignments they have and when they are due. I would say the use of Schoology and Seesaw in elementary really varies from building to building. You might have, for instance, at one school, you might have all the 5th grade teachers are using Schoology because they really want to get their 5th graders ready for middle school when all the teachers are using Schoology as well. You might have another school that you've got a big group of kindergarten teachers who are using Seesaw a lot to show things to family members. So as an elementary counselor, you might have this be something that you put in like a survey to your teachers at the beginning of the year saying, are you using what LMS are you using with your students and families? Are you using Schoology? Are you using Seesaw? How often are you using it? So then you can get an idea of what that teacher is doing and how you can best support. For Schoology, you can I can create a course for you if you'd like to have a course that you register students to. You can use that course to create a course for a small group of students. You could use it for a specific class. You could also ask teachers to add you as an admin, as a teacher in their course. And from there, you could create materials that you share with students. So if I know we have at least one new counselor, but the way that you get to Schoology is by signing into Clever using your NSD credentials, and then you can click on the Schoology tile. This is going to be a little bit of like a 101 overview. I won't go too into depth, but I can go deeper if you need some more support in the future as well, if you need that one-on-one. So right now I'm just in my account. So I've got a lot of like sandbox courses that I'm in on, not really showing any actual courses. But what happens is for an elementary teacher, they're going to see in their course dashboard a course that gets automatically created for them based on the class being registered to them in Synergy. It'll say something like grade 01 homeroom and their last name. And then when they go into that course, it will not have anything in there. It will be blank. It will not look like this. Okay. And in the members section, it will have the teacher for that course, and it will have all of the students in that course as well. And teachers can then from there add members. They could add you as an admin member to the course. And if they add you as an admin to their course, you then will have access to do things like adding materials to their course. So you could create a folder, maybe Ms. Oakley's counseling corner, right? Something like that. You can choose the color for the folder, write a description, and create it. Any new materials will always go to the bottom of the course. And then within that folder, you can put different resources that you might want to share with students. Some resources that you can create. If I were in a counselor role and I wasn't creating assignments that students needed to respond to, I would probably be more likely to use the discussion section and the add file link external tool, or the add page. Okay, so add discussion means I could create a discussion question for students to respond to. Maybe like, what zone are you in? Okay. And I can write text. I can also insert images. So maybe I have an image from zones of regulation where I'm going to save this image. I'm just doing this quickly, not perfectly, just showing you the process here. And I can insert an image by going over here to insert content and insert image, attach file. I'm going to grab my image. That's going to put it right here in my text box. So I can also from here make the image larger. Okay, I can create a due date for this discussion. And I can create that discussion thing. When students click on it, what zone are you in? It shows the pictures, and then students will be able to write their comments about what zone they're in. So that's the discussion option. Students will be able to see each other's responses to that. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If you wanted it to be something private, you might not want to use the discussion piece. You also could, got that in my counseling corner. You could also add just links and files or pages. Maybe you want to have information about accessing certain websites or certain calming videos, something like that. you could put in some links. So maybe you vetted some resources that are appropriate for students and you want to make sure they have access to that. You can just paste the link here. You can also, I'm going to show you one of my favorite things you can do, which is instead of just copying the link, you can, let's see. Let's do the embed code, share embed. Okay. I'm going to copy all of this text. This one's a little tricky, so I'm going to show it slowly. Embedding makes the video go directly in here to the page instead of having students have to pop out. So what I would do is I'd still do insert content, image media. I'd go over to from the web and I would click media. Okay, I'm going to show that process again. So insert content, image media from the web. Right now it's on image, change it to media. And then I'm going to paste that entire embed code that I copied and do insert. The preview is just going to be this yellow box, but I'll show you what happens when I click create. And I click on calming video. Now I have this YouTube video directly here on the page and students can watch it right here with having to go out to a different spot. Okay, so that's one thing I wanted to show there. And then the other thing would be is if I did want to just put in that link and have students like go out to that site, I can also do add file link, click link, and just paste the normal link, not the embed link. Share, copy this one, paste the link, give it a title. And I have options to have it display in Schoology or display in a new window. I generally recommend display in a new window because sometimes when we do display in Schoology, it doesn't function properly, but you can do whatever you'd like. Click add. Now you can see when I've added this link, there's this little link icon, and I click on it, it will bring them out to that page in YouTube. Okay. All right. So I just wanted to show a little bit there of using Schoology. You can, like I mentioned, create your own course that you add students to manually. You can talk to your office manager about having your office manager create courses in Synergy that are not graded, that are in your name, and that will make it auto-populate in Schoology. But you can also ask teachers who are using Schoology to add you to their course so that you can have a little section with your materials in it as well. So it really just depends on what you're trying to share, what you want to share, and what your teachers are doing. So that's just a little view of Schoology. And now I'm going to move over to Seesaw. In elementary, you're more likely to have folks using Seesaw than Schoology in those, at least in those primary grades. Okay. For Seesaw, you have the same kind of options when it comes to Seesaw. You can have your own course that you add students to. You can be added to courses that are already automatically created for students and teachers. Because you are not a classroom teacher, a Seesaw account is not automatically created for you. If you would like to create a Seesaw account and use Seesaw, you know it's being used at your school, you will go to Seesaw and click, you would click I'm a teacher, and you would click create teacher account, do not do teacher sign up with Google. You would do create teacher account, put in your first name, last name, email, password, click create teacher account. It will walk you through setup for setting up an account. And then I will, on the admin end, I will get a request for you saying this teacher wants to create a Seesaw account and be connected to your school. Do you allow this? And I would select yes and allow you to have access. So you can see that from my end, I can see all the teachers in the entire school. Right now, they're not teaching any classes because old classes have been archived. So there aren't any classes in here now, but you'll be connected with your school, and then you would be able to be attached to classes and post things in those classes. So let's go ahead and take a look at a class so you can see what it looks like. Ms. Hink is probably still using hers. So in a class, it will have all of the students in that class are listed over on the side. And there's a few different things that you can do in Seesaw. You can just click add and add something to the journal for that class that all students can see, or just specific students can see. You can tag who's in it. But one thing I really wanted to show you guys as elementary counselors are some of the resources that are built in already to Seesaw. I'm going to go in to my teacher account and just do it with one of my Sandbox courses. So here's my 2023 Sandbox course. And the activities section of Seesaw is how teachers can create kind of assignments for students that they can respond to. I'm going to go to Browse Resource Library. And this community library has activities that have been created by other teachers. Okay, and you can look at an activity, see if it's appropriate for your students and assign it. But Seesaw also has created some lessons of their own, and they actually have some really great cell lessons in here. So that's what I kind of wanted to show off, some of these character building ones, like creating classroom culture, feelings every day, daily feelings check-in. These are some things that I thought might be a good resource for elementary counselors when they're working with students. So when I click on this feelings lesson, it has different sections here. So read, listen, practice, create, connect, and show what you know. So as a teacher, I can assign an activities to students and they can go through it on their own, but I also have the ability to present just this activity to a class. So if I click present to class, I now have this book that I can go through the pages and read it to the class. Okay, and I'm just showing them this as I'm going through. There's also the listen option, where if I do that, now it's a video that's just gets played and I can show it to the students. Then for practice, students will practice identifying common feelings by looking at and listening for clues that may show how someone feels. So for students, if I assign this to them, they can listen to the directions and then they can go through and match the words with the feeling. So they can drag this over to match them up. You could also still present this to the class and do it together. So you could be presenting it to the class and then choosing the hand tool, move over the feelings. Okay. So I'm not going to go through every single lesson. This is just a quick little overview to show you that these resources exist in Seesaw. So if you don't have a Seesaw account yet and you want to get started playing around with that, definitely create an account, and that will send me a notification to add you to our Seesaw for Schools account, and then you'll have access to the Seesaw library and you can take a look at some of these resources and see if there are things that you would like to use with students. So those are pretty great, and then you're not having to create everything from scratch either. Okay. Again, that's a very quick overview. I did just teach a Seesaw 101 course this week. And if you'd like access to the recording of that class, and you want more information about using Seesaw, can definitely get you connected with that. Okay. Moving on to Google Drive. In this part, I'm going to give some tips and tricks for organization, things that you may not know already about Google Drive. Before I do that, does anyone have any questions about Schoology or Seesaw? Because I kind of went over it pretty quickly. Okay, looks like we're all good. So we'll move on to Google Drive. All right. I don't know if your Google Drive looks like mine, but I have a lot of files in my Google Drive. So I'm going to show you some ways to best use and organize your Google Drive and help with navigation so that you can find what you need. One thing that you can see right away is that when I create folders for categorizing things, those show up at the very top. If I'm in list view, if I'm in grid view, they also show up at the top here, but it's just a little bit of a different view. Okay. Some quick things I want to show that I find not everyone makes great use of. My very favorite one is the starred section. Okay. Starred creates a bookmark for Google Docs and Google Slides without having to create a bookmark in your bookmark bar or up in your bookmark section here. So I have quite a few docs that I reference frequently. One of my big ones is our instructional technology assignments doc that shows who the coordinator is for what region, how to contact them, how to book an appointment with them. I'll even share this right now. If you're not sure who your coordinator is, I'll share this with you guys. So go ahead and click on that link in the chat. This can be really helpful for knowing who to contact for what. And then what I would recommend doing is you can see up at the top of the document, next to the name, there's a little star icon. If you click on that star icon, now when you're not in that document, you're just in Drive, if you go over to starred, that document will be there in your starred section. So any documents that you go to regularly, or maybe you find yourself searching for in Drive regularly, I highly recommend you take advantage of that star function so that you can go find it later. I'm finding things where I'm like, oh, I don't even need this starred. Like, why do I need my class list from when I was teaching in 2019 and 2020 starred? No, don't need that. So you can always clean up these things as well, like I do at times. Going back to my Drive, what I also wanted to show is some of the search features in Drive. So obviously, if I'm thinking, okay, I need the STS directory so I can contact one of my STSs and find their information. Okay, so I can search for that. But if I know, well, I'm looking for the STS directory, but I know specifically that type of document is a spreadsheet. Now I can put in STS directory. I know it's a spreadsheet and it's going to bring up only spreadsheets. It's not going to bring up any Google Docs or Google Slides. So that can be helpful. I can also change like who the owner is or who created this document. I can search for which people did those things. I can put in a range of when that document was modified. I can look for something that I know is in my Drive, or I know it's been shared with me. I know I don't own it. I could say title only. I don't want anything that's looking through the body. I just want to know what's in the title. Okay. So there are a lot, I find that most folks, when they are searching for something specifically, will just do their best to type in whatever they can remember of a name of something in Google Drive, but using these qualifiers to help you find something can be really helpful as well. Okay. The funny thing in here, I was noticing, I used my fourth graders, when I taught fourth grade, we used Google Drive a lot. So many times some of my old fourth grade students who are now in college, their names will pop up as like people. So I don't know if Sherry saw there was like Will's name was in there at one point, and some other of his classmates from, man, 8 years ago. So pretty funny. But there's using those different features in the search section can be really helpful to find what you need. Shared drives. I'm a part of a lot of shared drives. I don't know if everyone in this room is also part of a shared drive, but shared drives can be really helpful when you work with a team of people to do some similar work. So if you don't have one already, having a shared drive for elementary counselors might be something that's really helpful. You might have an SDLT shared drive for your school, or maybe a guidance team shared drive for your school, where you can be working on the same documents and have the same access to everything. So one thing I'll show is that when I create a new document, so not a new drive. So if I do a new Google Doc, this immediately is just in my drive. If I click the share button, I see it's private only to me. Okay, so I'm the only person with access. No one else can see it. Okay. If I move this over to my shared drive that I use with my team, I'm going to go back, shared drives, and put it in the iTech shared drive, and move it here. I get a little notice. Ownership will transfer from you to North Shore School District, and everyone who can see that shared drive is going to gain access. So you'll see now, when I click on share, it's going to be automatically shared with everyone who's in that shared drive. So if you don't use shared drive, you might be accustomed to creating a document, giving it a name, doing things, and then going to share and typing, we'll do sample 2, and then typing the name of every person that you want to share it with. If you are typically sharing with the same people with different documents, work smarter, not harder. Create a shared drive so that those things are immediately shared with those people and they have access to. A few other things that are helpful to know if you haven't already found these out yet, or you maybe haven't worked a lot with the Google Suite. The default sharing options for general access, whether it's a shared drive item or your own drive, is restricted. The only people listed here can open that document. If you want other people in the district or anyone who has the link, whether it's parents or anyone else, to be able to see it, you'll need to change the general access. So the options are North Shore School District. So anyone with NSD credentials, if they're given the link, they can view it. You can also change it to make anyone in North Shore School District a commenter or editor. Okay. You can also make it so that they can search for it or that they have to have the link to access. The other option is anyone with the link. That means public. Anyone with the link can view. You could make it anyone with the link can comment or edit. Generally, I would think that you don't want to do that. So if you ever want to make something super public so that families can see it as well, I would recommend keeping it on viewer. Okay. So now I'm done. So anyone with the link now can view it. And when I click share and copy the link, if I put this doc link in an email, anyone who clicks on it can see that Google Doc. Okay. So those are some important things for sharing. Let's see. I can also just hear from Drive, even when I'm not searching. I can categorize and sort through what's in my Drive by only looking at certain types. Okay, so this shows only my Google Slides. I can also change it so that I'm only looking at things that this person owns. So I can do all of those things as well. Okay. All right. The last really quick Google Drive tip I wanted to give you guys is, I think this one is really fun. If you were ever working on something and you're like, oh, I need to create a Google Doc really quickly, or I need to create a Google slide really quickly. I want to show you my quick shortcut. What is the best way to organize the shared with me? That's another good question too, Jimmy. Let me mark down that I'm going to send out the Seesaw link for Deanna, and then I'll show my tips here. Okay. So quick tip. If you need to do a new Google Doc, of course, you could always be in my Drive and click new and then click Google Doc or click Google Sheets. But if you're in the middle of something else, like you're in bookings or you're on some other site and you're like, oh, I need to take a note of this really quickly, instead of going to Drive, clicking new Google Doc, you can also do, this is my favorite shortcut. If you type docs.new, it will automatically create a new blank untitled Google Doc for you. This also works with slides.new and sheets.new. So that's one of my very favorite shortcuts for when you need a brand new slide, doc, or sheet is type in what it is, docs.new, slides.new, or sheets.new, and you'll get a brand new empty doc for you to work with. All right, I'm going to go to Jimmy's question real quick before we go on to our next section, which is how to organize the shared with me. Keep in mind, shared with me, these are things that are shared from other people that you generally don't own, right? So you can't put it in folders within your Google Drive because it's just been shared with you for you to look at and access. So of course, using the search function can be really helpful. Like, who is it that I'm looking for, or what type of document am I looking for? I can change those things. I can also change which person it is that shared something with me. But another thing that I want to show is, even though I can't like move this document into one of my folders in Google Drive, I can make a copy and put it in a folder of my own Google Drive. Okay, so that's really helpful and easy to do. I can also, though, if I click organize, I can add it to my starred section, but I can also add a shortcut. So let's say I really want to be able to get to Joe's device extravaganza document, and I want it to be organized in one of my folders. So if I say, okay, I want this in my Tech Summit, or if I want it in my active panel things, these are all suggested. I can also go all locations and go to my Drive. Okay, let's say I want this in my ITC folder. So I'm going to click add. I haven't moved Joe's file into my folder. It belongs to Joe, so it's in his Google Drive. But if I go to my Drive and I go to my ITC folder, I now have, you can see this little arrow, that's a shortcut that will take me to that file. So that's one way if you want to organize the things as shared with you to get to it easily, is to create that shortcut. Okay, so I'm going to show that again. So shared with me. There's something in here that I want to reference often, but I don't own it. I have 3 options. I can make a copy, so I have my own copy of it. If the original copy gets updated, I won't have those updates anymore. I'll just have my copy that I make at this moment. So I can do that, and that will save in my drive. Or I can go to organize and I can add it to my starred section. Then it shows up in here. Or if I want it in a specific location in a folder, right? I can make a little shortcut by doing organize and add shortcut. Okay, so those are the best ways to organize the things that are shared with you. Thanks for asking that question, Jimmy. I'm glad I could address that.
Maddie,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
are we able to delete the share with me, the file in the share with me?
You
We-
cannot delete from shared with me. I think, let me just see real quick. Let me find one that I
Or
definitely
remove.
will find the old one. Let's try and see what happens. If you do remove, I believe it would remove it from shared with me, but it doesn't delete the file. Like it's not going to delete it from Joe's collection.
Okay, so it's just
So-
removing from my share with me.
Yeah, it just says it will be removed from view. Does that make sense? It's going to be removed from your shared with me, but it's not going to delete it for that owner.
Gotcha. So that was the
Right.
yeah. Okay, good to know, because I have a lot of share with me from like 3 years ago and I don't need it. And then it's just filling up in
Yeah.
the share with me so much. And I'm like, what I'm going to do? And then
And it really depends on your preference. Like for me, from how I work, if I go to shared with me, I look for the thing and see if it was shared recently. I search for it. I don't worry about scrolling. And I don't worry about things that are 3 years old. But if that bothers you, you can absolutely, select all of these and move them from out of your view. So that's something that you can do if it helps. But I would just say, don't spend too much of your time doing that, because I wouldn't want you to sit there just deleting things from shared with me for 2 hours, unless you really want to. Maybe take it 10 minutes at a time. Deanna asked, will a shortcut in your own folder be editable from the original sender in both locations? Yeah, a shortcut is just that. So like I said, if you make a copy of a document, if I make a copy of Joe's device extravaganza document, and then he puts some updated information in there, I won't have that updated information in my copy. But if I make a shortcut and click on the shortcut, it's just taking me to this file, the original file. So if any updates are made, it will show up because it still belongs to Joe. Okay. If I want to edit it and Joe hasn't given me the permission to edit things, then I have to make a copy. If I want to change things and make it my own or put some updates in, I have to make a copy of that. So I hope, does that answer your question, Deanna? Okay, great. Awesome.
so as we're making a copy of them, we take the ownership of that.
Yes.
So we can
yes.
do it, but at the same time,
Yeah.
if it's something that we kind of wait for the updates and something that we have to leave as it, and then the best way to organize is like a shortcut to my drive. So I'll be able
Yep,
to
a
access to
shortcut
it.
or star it. Yep.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I'll also share as well, one thing that's helpful for me, if you are part of a shared drive, like my team uses our iTech shared drive a lot, right? So if you're part of a shared drive that you reference often, I have shortcuts in my bar to just general Google Drive, my drive, and I have a separate shortcut to my iTech shared drive. So that might be something that you might want to consider. This is also just a quick Chrome tip. If you ever want to make a shortcut to something, like if I want to have my bookings page as a shortcut, you can just click on the little lock sign by the address and then drag it into your bar like that. So that's what will help create that. And then you can also adjust the name. I think this can be really helpful. So for instance, I don't want it to be bookings with me, Maddie Oakley Outlook. I can just call this bookings. Okay. And now I'm taking up less space in my bar. But you can see that I've also edited the name of some of my bookmarks to I just completely take out the name because I know that this is Seesaw from the icon. I know this is Synergy from the icon. I don't need to have the name there. So that might be something that's helpful for you when you create a bookmark in your bookmark bar, is you can always edit that bookmark. And you can even just take out the name and then you just have the little icon. So just a quick tip with that. All right. I think we are actually right on time to have our next 5-minute break. So after the break, we'll talk about Google Sites and Clever. So let's get another 5-minute break or 5-minute timer. I'm hitting all the wrong buttons. And let's take a little bio break and I'll see you guys back here in 5 minutes.
Maddie,
Yes.
are we going to do the parent square? Because that's the one of the topic that we talk about it for this course. How to we as a school counselor will be able to use the parents square.
Yeah, that's a good question. I had been in contact with people from communications trying to get some more information from them about elementary counselors access, and they weren't getting back to me on the timeline that I needed for our training. So I'm going to be working to create a little like guide that I can send you that you can look on at your own for using Parent Square, but unfortunately I couldn't include it in today's training.
Okay, because I didn't see the parents square, so
Yeah,
because
yeah, that's
I
why
found out that everybody has a different access to it. So that's something that I was looking for today, as how much we can have access to the parents square to communications.
Yeah, I will definitely, I just with the start of the year, I feel like they're so slammed that they haven't been very great about getting back to me, but I will make sure to keep hounding them about that to make sure I get that information for you.
So that means like if after you get the information, we might able to have some like a short session with you
Yes.
talking about the how to we can utilize the parents square communication as a counselor.
Yes.
Okay, that will be good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. No problem. I'm going to go do my bio break. I will be back in 3 minutes. All right, made it back just in time. Hopefully you did as well. Oh, and then I stopped share on accident. Here we go. Okay. All right. Let me grab our chat. Make sure we have that. All right. So for the last 55 minutes that we have together, we'll be talking about Google Sites and a little bit about Clever. I'm going to talk first about, I'm going to talk about Google Sites, and then once we talk about Google Sites, that will also help us with part of what we'll talk about for Clever. Google Sites is what you have access to create your own kind of landing page for things. One that you don't have to ask your STS to update for you. You can be in charge of editing it yourself. You do have experience with Google Sites if you have accessed the staff toolbox at all, because this toolbox is created using Google Sites. For the toolbox, all of the departments in the district have access to things for the toolbox and creating it, but you can create your own Google site that only you can edit. So I wanted to go over that. Before I get into it, I'm also going to share this page in our section of the toolbox that gives you more information about using Google Sites. So I'm going to copy this and share this. And this is kind of a self-paced resource that I'm sharing in the chat, but I'm going to go through this as well. Okay. So the reason why I wanted to talk about Google Sites for counselors is thinking about some of the different things that we've shared today. We've talked about creating a folder in a Schoology page that has resources. We've talked about having a book with me section. We've talked about making sure your signature has information. If you make a Google site, it's a way that you can organize resources for students and families, post updates about what you are teaching as a counselor, and make sure that you're the one curating that information. So in order to create a Google site, and you could even do one with me right now, while I'm explaining, you'll go to sites.google.com and you'll just go ahead and click start a new site in this blank. You could, of course, choose a template that was there as well, but you'll have an untitled site. So I'm going to pretend that I am a counselor. I'm going to do that in Ms. Oakley's Counselor Corner. That's going to put the name right here. And now I'm going to have this page title. Okay. So I have a few different things that I could name it. My whole site is called Ms. Oakley's Counselor Corner. And I could then name it my elementary school. I could give it lots of different names, whatever works for you. I'm going to use my old school that I taught at. Or I'm going to say More Cubs Counselor Corner. Okay. You can see right now I can change this image that's in the background here. I can change the header type to being a normal banner, a large banner, or just the title or a cover. So there's lots of different options for what you can do. And Google Sites is pretty intuitive about how to add content and adjust things as well. I can also, you can see I clicked over here on the properties here. I can change kind of the color theme and use this simple layout. I can just click here and try different layouts as well, different colors. I can change the font style, but they're preset, which is nice. So I'm not having to just start from scratch on all of them. I could change the background image to something that is related to my school, which is kind of fun. And I can change these with these preset colors, but I could also pick my own colors as well, which is nice. So there's a few different layouts here that you can choose from. Okay. And after I have my themes, I can also insert text, images, different content blocks. I can put in all of these different options. I can embed things from my Google Drive right here into Google Sites. So if I was making this site, I might first do a content block here where I put in an image of myself for introducing myself. Okay, and I might make it larger so it's not squished down. Hello. And I might introduce myself here. Okay. So I might just be introducing myself on this opening page, and then I might put other content on other pages. So I can add more pages from here. So this is my home that I'm at, and I can add a sub page to home, or I can add a new page as well. So I'm going to add a new page called resources. Done. And you can see when I do that, up along the top bar here, it changes from having just home to now I also have this resources page, and it also gives that title here. If I go back to insert, I can insert more content. So I can do, if I just click in here and do a text box, I can type some text. I can also insert just directly an image or embed a video like I did for YouTube. I can insert more content blocks that are pre-created for me to just enter text and images. If I add a section of something and then I decide I don't want it, I can delete that section. I can also duplicate the section so there's more of them. Over on the side, there's also section colors. So maybe I put a piece of text here, and then over on this side, I change the style to kind of make it pop a little bit more so I can have it alternating. Okay. I also, when I start writing text, I can change the fonts. I can change it from normal to being a heading or subheading, can change the size. I can put in emojis, add links, all of those different options and more. So I might add resources here. Maybe it's resources for families. Okay. And I'll also add a page where it is calming strategies. Maybe I have a counselor's newsletter, and I have a different section for all of those things. Okay. Now, what I'm doing right now is I'm in the editor mode. So none of this is published for people to see. I'm just creating it, and they will be able to see it once I've published it. So when you first create a site, a Google site, and you click publish, it will say, well, what do you want your web address going to be? It's going to be sites.google.com/apps.nse.org/something. So it took the name that I gave my site and it automatically wrote this, but I could change this as well, as long as it's not a site name that's being used already. So I could say KE Counselor instead. I'm not going to use that because I want that available to someone else who might use it. Then I also have the options here. I can make this so that anyone within the district can view the site. If I did this, only staff and students, when logged into their Google accounts, could see my Google site. If I want this to be accessible to families as well without logging in to a North Shore account, I would click manage and I would have to change the published site from being North Shore only to public. Okay. And then once I have published it, it would be accessible and viewable. Okay. So I'm going to go done. I'm going to call this Maddie test site. So it's not something anyone else is going to be using. I also have the options to say that I don't want, if people search on Google, if they're searching on Google for like my name, counselor, etc., that it doesn't show up in search engines. I might want that people get there only from my signature or from the school website, but not just from Googling it directly. So you can choose that as well. I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to click publish. Okay. So now when I have published this, once I've published it the first time, I can get the link, the published site link right here. Okay. So here's my link. And now when someone who is not signed in North Shore, when they go to this site, they'll still be able to get to my website. You can see I opened a different profile that isn't connected to my account and it's there and ready to use. So you can see I didn't add anything to my page yet. So I'm going to add some things. Resource 1. So just like when you're working in Google Docs, my draft, all changes are saved in Drive. So it's going to save this automatically. However, if I go to my published site link, I'm still not seeing that text. That's because I'm currently in draft mode and my draft is saved, but until I select publishing again, any of my new changes aren't visible to the public. So when I click publish this time, I'll get a little preview. It'll say you've updated resources. This is what it looks like in your draft, and this is what it currently looks like to people. And so that way you can look at it and say, yes, I do want those things to be published. You click publish. Okay. And now when someone goes to that site, it will be up to date, or it should be. There we go. Yep. So there's my resource 1, resource 2, resource 3 is now visible. This is really important if you do use Google Sites because it saves automatically in your draft. Many times people do forget about publishing it, and then they're wondering why it's not available on their site. It's because they haven't done publish yet. You can also look at some different options when you click on publish, like the settings for publish, viewing the published site, all of those things as well. Some other things you can do in Google Sites, you can preview your site for how it will look for people when it's published. You can preview what it looks like on a computer. Okay, you can preview what it will look like on a tablet. So you can see those things don't come up on the top anymore. They come up when you click on the 3 bars.
Maddie?
Yeah.
When we click the publish your site for the web address, what would you suggest? That we put our like name there or?
There's
Yeah.
a few options. I always say that
yes.
for a website, the simpler, the better. So I would probably put something like maybe the initials for your school and counselor. So like you're at Maywood Hills, so maybe MH counselor or counseling. And so that way it's very simple. When you publish it, it will not automatically link to your elementary school. So we're going to talk about ways that you can share it later. Good question, Deanna.
So it's like not like our name, but like a school, say like a Maywood Hills School Council.
Yeah, I think that would be easier for, my thought is that would be easier for families is to not have it to remember your name and maybe just have it there the other way. Although no one's probably going to type in that entire site name. So whatever you want to use is fine. Keep in mind too, though, that if you, let's say you transferred to a different school and you were a counselor at, you know, a different school instead, would you want the resource that you created to be accessible still to the new counselor, or would you want to take the resource with you to the new school? I would probably want to have it still be accessible to the school, and that way I could change the ownership from myself to the new counselor, and the name wouldn't be connected to me. It would be connected to the school. So that's one thing to keep in mind too. But there's no, you must do this or you must do that rules for naming it. Does that help, Jimmy?
Yeah, so but I get a little confused. So if I want to have this site to connect to me, not to school, what do we have to do?
Well, you are creating this in your
Oh.
account. It's not going to automatically, you know, be connected to the district website. You would have to create everything and then share it with your STS to make a link on the district website. So this is not required at all. I want to make that clear as well. I just thought that if I were in your shoes, I would think that it might be helpful to have kind of a landing page with all the resources that I might want to share with students and families and staff. So that way they can always go to that place to find the information that I've been sharing. But this is not a requirement at all. It's just an idea of a way that you can make sure that things are accessible for folks. Okay.
So if
So-
we create this Google site and then I give this link to our office manager, put it in the Parents Square communication, like a weekly that we send throughout the school. So the Parents Square, that will be translate my link to.
The information that so the link isn't going to be translated because a link is just a link.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Like you
Mhm.
can't, if I type in, apple.com, it doesn't get translated to manzana.com if I speak Spanish, right? So the link will stay the same, but because you're creating a website with live text, if someone accesses this, website with, if they have their language set to a different language for their home language, it will automatically translate the page for them.
Okay.
Okay. All right. What did I want to show here? I had a thought in my
I have
head.
a question.
Sure.
Our school has a counselor page from last year's counselors. Can we utilize that if we like a lot of what they created and we just want to edit a few pages? Or do they have ownership of that, the creators, or do you know?
Is that on the like the general webpage?
If you go to Wellington, you'll see there's a counselor page, but it's not ours. I mean, we haven't, I like it. I like a lot of what they did there. So if you click on, counseling right there under resources. No,
So
it's
Deanna, are you
resources,
asking
counselors.
are you asking kind of like, you know, how we can copy a Google Doc, you know, make it our own? Like, are you thinking like copy a site and then edit it?
Well, yeah, or I just don't want to have to reinvent the wheel if I really like a lot of what they have here.
Totally.
And just edit what I don't like or update the
So,
photos for me.
In this case, Deanna, this is kind of like the backwards version of what I was just explaining to Jimmy, right? Like if you change schools, you could then maybe transfer the ownership of this to the new counselor. But what you're saying is that hasn't happened. So is there a way to just copy it, right?
Or
Like this doesn't belong to you. So this
But-
is a Google site.
But isn't it,
Go ahead.
Maddie, this is the homepage of their school website? It's
Mm,
not.
This
It's
is,
not the homepage, it's the counselor page.
no, this is an example of a Google site. So
Okay.
this, either Angela Wagoner or Annie Carmona made this with Google Sites, like I'm just showing you, and
Mhm.
they shared the link with the STS, who made the link available here and put it in here. The issue
okay.
is that this is owned by one or both of them. So what I can do, Deanna,
Mhm.
is I can talk with our Google person and see if we can transfer ownership of this site to you. So then you can just edit this and have ownership of it, especially because, or I'm sorry, your halftime, did you replace one of these people and the other one is still here?
No. We are,
Okay.
we have two halftime people on there, neither one are these people. So I can give
Okay,
you
got
the other
it.
gal's name too, if you want.
So
But-
I can have our Google admin person look into the ownership of this and transfer ownership to you. And then what you can do is you have collaboration settings. So you can do add people and you can add the other counselor to also have access and update the Google site as well. Does that make sense, Sienna?
Yeah, thanks for showing
Okay.
that. I'll go back and do that one. I'll go
Yeah, of
rewatch
course.
this when I have this updated.
And so
Yeah.
Maddie, when you're offering to like give those privileges to Deanna, like if that's not possible, we have the contact information for both those previous counselors. But do
Okay.
they even have access to those sites anymore because they were made through their NSD portal? They
If
do.
they still work in the district and
They
have
don't.
their Google account, they'll have
Mhm.
access. If they don't, it still exists, right? But they
Mhm.
don't have access any longer.
Okay, so then our only option is what you presented, which is awesome that
Exactly.
you can do that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
So
Yeah, of
so,
course.
like,
And if anyone else,
yeah,
oh, sorry, go ahead, Deanna.
I was just thinking, yeah, is there a way for them to have, like, copy this and take it to their element? I don't know if they're still in the district. If they are, like, I'm sure they're not gonna wanna
Yeah,
have.
this is a good question. We actually have, if you ever do like change districts or anything like that, it's always good to check with technology because we can share different ways that you can, like download things into a zip file and then, copy it over to your personal Google Drive or things like that. So, let me see. Yeah, so you could make a copy of what you've made, right? And have it in your drive, copy of Ms. Oakley's, but you could also then share it with like a personal account if needed. Does that make sense? Like it's kind of like a Google Doc, but it's a website, so you can
Yeah,
do some of those
I was just
copying and
wondering if
sharing.
they wanted to have it at their school and just change the name of their school and update their photos for that school. But I also use their template at Wellington. Is that like,
I would say that
basically have a
because
comp-
it's been created for Wellington and is connected to the Wellington website and they can't get into it any longer likely, like I think the best course of action is to just transfer it to you. And I could if anyone still has contact with them, they could try reaching out and say like, hey, do you want like a copy of your Google site? But otherwise it's on you before you leave to try to make those copies first.
So Maddie, for just to out of the question, so if we get the permission before they left to North Shore School District that, hey, anyone can use my, whatever that I create, then we don't have to worry about it. And then if we have to, we can make a copy of it and then be ownership to, change and everything. But at the same time, if we don't do it, then we can talk to the help desk, say, hey, it's a possible that you can change the ownership from the person who left the NSD and then to me without Yeah, and if like what Dana's case, she doesn't have any contact information, the people who left. So if she said, okay, talk with the help desk, say, can I have ownership? And they say yes, is she okay if she's not able to reach out to the people? I'm just worried about, my little concern about the copyright. Like people,
Yeah, here's the
I
thing is
create
that
it.
yeah, if you create it and you're using your NSD account, right? And especially if you like don't make a copy of it for yourself to reference and use later, like you've made it, but you've made it under the NSD umbrella. So like if you made this under NSD and then said, I'm going to create this template that I'm going to sell to other counselors to like make money off of, that would actually be in violation of like the terms of using our service to make things, right? So it belongs to NSD and you are kind of the temporary steward of it, right? Like you're taking care of it, but in the end, it belongs to the school district because it's been created using the resources that are provisioned to you by the school district.
So if without getting a permission from the people who left and using it, it's just if we get the permission from the district level, we're okay. We're not going to be in trouble.
Yep,
with
absolutely. You're
the
not doing any, so
personally-
if we transfer this over to Deanna, she's not doing anything wrong by changing the contact information, using it still and adjusting what's on here. No, absolutely not doing anything wrong.
Okay, it's good to know. Just we
Yep,
want
of
to
course.
be safe for that part.
Yes, exactly. So you can see that other counselors have used this before. I thought I was being creative by saying Ms. Oakley's Counseling Corner, but apparently that's a very useful alliteration for counselors. Let's see if Sherry, does your site also say Counselor Corner? No, it doesn't, but she has a lot of great information in here. So Sherry's used Google Sites as well to create a landing page. So some things that you could include on your Google site, things that we were talking about including in your signature. You could put in that link for booking an appointment with you. You can put in different resources, just like you see here. Things about the school counseling program, parent resources. There's a lot of great things that can be included here. And once you've created it, like we see with Wellington, you would then share that published link with your STS, and your STS would create a link to that page on the district website. So some pages within the website, the district website here, are all connected, and some go to other resources like this counseling site. The nice thing about Google Sites, like I said, is you are owning and updating this. You're not having to ask your STS every time to change something. You're able to do this. And this kind of segues into what I wanted to show you about Clever. I had a few people asking me before, like, what can we do with Clever? And for the most part, there's not a lot as a counselor that you can do. But also keep in mind that teachers don't really use it for a ton either, besides sometimes sharing specific resources and links with their class. But mostly they would use things like Seesaw and Schoology to do that. But what I do want to show you that you can do is, let's say you create a Google site. I'm going to show you what I can do as an admin, and this is what your STS can do as well. So as an admin in Clever, I can add more links to the Clever homepage. So I'm going to create a custom link. I'm going to use Sherry's as an example here. And this is something you can ask your STS to do, or me if they don't get back to you. And you can create a link, Miss Weber's counseling page. Okay, you can add in that URL. Okay, I'm going to also put Counseling page. And then you get to choose, do you want this link to be displayed to students, teachers, staff? You can also choose that it gets displayed to guardians. Okay, and you can choose specific grades, but you can also choose specific schools. So your STS would obviously display it to your school, but this makes the link to your counseling page show up in Clever. I'm going to go ahead and do this and show you what it looks like as well. Okay. All right. So this would show up, and it would only show up for that school. So I'm going to publish changes. And I can impersonate teachers. So I'm just going to show you from a teacher point of view that it shows up. So I am a first grade teacher at Frank Love right now, where Sherry works. And you can see that in district resources in North Shore Tools, it says Ms. Weber's counseling corner. Now, when your STS creates a link, it will actually go directly to Frank Love Tools, because I did it on the whole district level. That's why it's showing up in North Shore Tools. But I just wanted to show that that's another way that you can share that resource, or you could even just share a bookings link, right? Like book an appointment with Ms. Weber. You could ask your STS to add it to the Clever portal for your school. I'm going to go ahead and go.
Maddie, so you're saying we will be able to add this one to the Clever, or do we have
You
to
cannot
talk to
add
our
it, but your
STS?
STS can add it for you.
Oh, okay. And then if we do it for ourselves, we don't have to ask a permission from SDS or school admin.
What was
or
that?
anything. To edit that part, do we
Mhm.
have to get permission from anybody?
That's a good question. I would say the best practice would be to maybe chat with your admin first and say, I would like to share my Google site that I created and make sure that it's visible on the Clever home screen. I was shown that we can do this in this training that we did. Is that okay with you? And that way you're asking for, in these cases, it's generally better and builds better goodwill to ask for permission and not forgiveness. So that's what I would probably do, is just check in with your admin first. Sometimes they have reasons to not want to clutter up that section.
Okay, and then
But
we can ask STS to put it on for our site.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, can I get access to edit the webpage by 8/29 when my partner, counselor, and I will be back together so we can work on it together? I believe we should be able to get that turned around that quickly for you, Deanna, to make sure that you have access to do that. Okay. All right. Wellington Google site. I'm taking my notes for like my action items after this. Wellington Google site ownership. Who is your partner, Deanna?
Her name is Jenna Kabat. I'll type her name in.
Okay, great. Thank you. Got
And
it.
Deanna, I think Jenna's coming from a different position at another elementary school, so she might already have a website at the previous school she went to. So that would be interesting to see how you guys could build one together from this one and that combined, maybe.
Yeah,
Like she
exactly. I want to
could
be able to-
definitely copy over some things from her site to the Wellington one. I'd probably stick with the Wellington one because it's already linked and edit from there. But yeah,
Right.
there's lots of different ways to do that.
Okay, I
Okay.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, great. I have quickly zoomed through everything that I wanted to cover today. So I wanted to use the next little bit here to answer any questions, or not answer, but note down any questions, any lingering questions you might have. I already have notes about checking in again with the communications folks about Parent Square, and also talking with some of our data folks about help around Excel and data collections. Anything else that you guys would like to see addressed? I hope that in general, this was helpful for you and gave you some more tips and tricks that you weren't aware of yet with using the different resources available in the district. That's a good question, Jen. Jen's just wondering, will you get notified once you're able to get into bookings, or should you come back and check on it later? I don't believe you'll get a notification. So I would even set like a reminder for Monday and Tuesday, just with sometimes some of the folks in the district, you know, Fridays or times that people might take off. I would check on that next week and see if that's working for you. And then definitely reach out to me if you're still not having access.
And then just a quick side note, I was able to add the bookings app icon by just clicking on add apps. I'm not sure if it's because I had it before or what, but that I was able to do that.
Oh, great. Yeah, I think maybe people who used it before had an easier time re-accessing it. So that's good. Sherry, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. And I did, well, related to the bookings, I did try to do that, Jeanette, but then when I went through trying to sign myself up through that, it still won't let me. Like the app added on, but it wouldn't let me like actually set up my account or whatever set up. So
Interesting. You're a high achiever. I just saw the app and gave up and didn't try anything else. So good for you. Maybe
Well,
I
yeah,
had the same issue too.
Yeah, I just noted that because I think we still, like Maddie was going to check on that, right? For
Yeah, it looks like
Yeah.
everyone has that issue too.
And
Yeah.
I messaged the guy who starts the process, and he thinks there might be another piece in like another part in our tech department with like roles and rapid identity and that allowing you guys to have access. So we've got a few folks that need to collaborate to make sure it's working. So
awesome. But I also had something that I came up as we were going through about seesaws. Okay, if I ask something about that.
yeah, for sure.
So one thing I see some of the teachers, like our first grade teachers, use Seesaw and they like share things with parents. So I'm imagining like sometimes I do lessons and say they do this drawing of what they want to be when they grow up or something, and I want them to share it. Like I know the first grade teachers would help me, but it's sometimes good if I like just have a background knowledge of things. So like if they were to add me as an admin to their account, then I could help the kids to do that. And I think you said like there's resources maybe for, I don't know, I'm sure I could just Google it, I suppose, but you did some trainings about Seesaw maybe that I could go back to or something to figure out how to do some of these things.
Yeah, and I'll just say from your role, it's kind of similar to what I mentioned with Schoology, where like you can create your own class. You can do it for a small group. You can do it for every single class that you want to have a duplicate class that's yours, or you can get added to like the standard homeroom class. So, and sometimes that depends on like the comfort of the teacher you're working with, right? Like someone like Carla might be like, yeah, sure, go ahead, be an admin, add things, etc. Whereas someone else might be like, I get anxious that like things might get messed up, and then you might look into creating your own group. But if they add you, it's really simple. They just go into their class settings, manage teachers, and they would just put in your email address. I can also add you. So let's say you send out like a survey to teachers at the beginning of the year being like, are you using Seesaw or Schoology? And then you find out from the ones that are using Seesaw, and you then connect with them and say, can I be added as a co-teacher so that I can help share things when I'm in teaching with your class? If you get a list of teachers that are like, yeah, go ahead and be added, I can on the admin side just add you as a co-teacher to all of those really quickly too.
Because I know, because during COVID, I did some of them, like you said, some of them added me, some of them did not. And then I was able to like go through and comment on things once they added me. But like, how complicated is it to do I'm trying to like think of the logistics of if I had my own class. Is that hard to connect me to my own class, or?
It's not hard to connect you to the students, but it just depends on what and how you want to do it. And by
Okay.
that, I mean, if you created a class, you could create a Ms. Weber's counseling class, and it is you add every single student in the school. You could add Ms. Weber's first grade, and you do all the first graders. You could do Ms. Weber's, or you could do Weber/Hein, right? And then it's all of her students. So you can do all of those things manually, but it can be a heavy lift. So I also want to recommend too, like, we can meet like
Okay.
separately and look
Okay.
at what you want to do, and I can help you do it most effectively too.
Okay.
Does that help, Sherry?
Yeah, that does. Yeah. Because I know, during COVID, like I wanted to have Schoology, everyone was using it, but like I'm like, I do not want to enter everyone's name, and they figured out how to, but it was a big process. But okay, yeah, that'll help. That's helpful. And I'll talk to my teachers, like we're gonna meet with teachers and see like who would be interested in having me on their Schoology or Seesaw, and then I could get back to you and see like how that might look.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then Deanna asked a question in the chat about the snip tool. Deanna, I don't think you're talking about taking a smaller screenshot, and maybe you used maybe you had like a different tool in the past, but you can actually do that really easily on a Mac. So you just do Command-Shift-4 instead of, I think 3 or 5. I think 3 does the whole screen. And what you'll get is these little crosshairs, and you just click and hold and drag, and that will take a screenshot of part of the screen. So you don't need actually a different tool to take a small screenshot. So again, that's Command, the little like flower symbol, Shift-4. You'll get the crosshairs, click, hold, take your screenshot. Is that what you were trying to do?
Yes, it is. That's really good to know. Thank you. And then
Yeah, I love
just
it.
wanted to know too, did you teach Schoology 101? as
I
well?
did not teach Schoology 101 this year, but we do have recordings, and I can get that shared with you for sure.
Okay, cool. And I just got confirmation from Jenna that the 2 counselors at Wellington are not in North Shore anymore.
Yeah, so I'll connect with our Google admin and get you guys access to that site.
Thank you.
Okay,
I have
awesome.
a
Yeah.
quick question.
Mhm.
It might have been shared a little bit earlier, or if anyone else on the team knows about the notes section in Synergy. Just want a little bit clarification on who gets access to notes, if it's from the counseling side, like if we put a really simple blurb about a student, what that looks like and who has access to it.
Who can view those things?
Yeah.
Does anyone here have an answer for that? I don't, but does anyone here already know the answer for that?
Yes, there is, what is it called? A report or an access. I think it's CNF 201. See if you can access that, Maddie. I know that this note system is used a lot for the secondary kiddos, but there is one for us. Yeah, student conference profile. And so if I were to look it up for like some of my elementary kids, I don't see anything, but I switched from secondary to elementary a year ago. And I know that like when I looked up stuff as a mental health specialist about a kid at the secondary level, they would put it in, but it's like, you know, why did they come? And you have like academic, social emotional, or, you know, whatever kind of focus was happening. So they would make it brief, but sometimes specific. Does that help you, Joan?
I think, clarify if I'm wrong, Joan, but I think Jeanette, she was also wondering, like, if I put in a note, do future counselors see it? Does the office staff see it? Does admin see it? Do teachers see it? Like, does everyone within Synergy have the ability to see that? Is that what you meant, Joan?
Yeah, because in the previous school, and thank you, Jeanette, that helps clarify a little bit. In the previous school, when it came to notes for whether they're elementary or secondary student, there's an area to where you can write down, like, if they had a conference with family, it's just Counselor Gonda met with family at this time and this date. That can be listed on there, not the full details, but at least like a quick easy summary. And so I just wanted to see if that was something that if counselors put it, if teachers had access to it too, or if it would just be the counselor and admin that would see that information. It was just a quick question, didn't know if it was an option for Synergy, but I know something like I forget what the other school district had something available to them. Because Synergy is a little complicated.
Does anyone know the answer to that about like viewing permissions on notes? I'm not seeing anyone unmute, so that might be a question that we direct to Shar.
Yeah, and I know like Katie brought it up a little bit before, but I don't know if we generally rounded back to it. So I'll just bring it back to the team later on.
Yeah, Joanne, we have a meeting with the Katie from 1 to 4 today.
Okay.
So probably that's something we have questions for the coming new year. Because I know that Katie tried to work with a different department as we requested or ask us the questions. So that's something that we can come out with the afternoon meeting.
Awesome. Sounds great. Appreciate it.
All right. See you. Maddie, I do have a quick question for the Google site. So as you did, and then I'm like more than halfway to create that things, but how do we switch the order of the contents up top?
Like
right?
this order,
Uh-huh.
you just, you should be able to.
I try
let's
everything.
see.
And I couldn't
It's letting me
figure
do it,
out.
Yeah. See, I was like, I thought you could drag it.
That's what I thought too, and it wasn't.
And then it didn't let me. Let's see. Filter pages, no. New menu section. You know what I always do? Reorder pages in Google Sites. Drag the page. It does say drag the page where you want to move it. Okay. Add, delete, or organize. Organize your pages. Move a page. Open new, close up page. Drag the page where you want to read it. I'll have to look into that. I think in the past, I've definitely been able to do. Oh wait, did it work? Yes. Okay, click on the icon of the page, not the name, and then you can drag it. Click and hold, and then you can drag.
Oh,
You did
okay.
it! Yay!
Because I
So that
tried
helps.
this way, that way. I was like, wow, why it's not working?
The other thing I'll show that I haven't shown yet is if you click on a page and then the 3 dots and do add sub page, that's how you're able to create these little drop downs. So we can see it in the staff toolbox. See how like general education is its own page, but then math has sub pages and K-5 math has sub pages. That you do in this section in pages by creating sub pages. So if you want to
I
have
already
resources.
I already create the sub, and then I just had a hard time reordering because for the COVID-19 it was like a big thing, but now like I have to move back.
Yeah, another tip I'll give too that's in here is if you ever create a section and you're realizing like you don't like it needs to be reworked, or you're not really using it, but you're not ready to delete it, you can hide it from navigation. That puts this little slash icon on it. Of course, you need to publish again. Any changes you make, if you want it live, you have to publish it, but that will remove it from here, but it still exists. You can unhide it and it will be live again after you publish it. So that can be helpful. We definitely use that in our department Google site, where sometimes we are creating a page and we're not ready to have it live yet, but we want it there, but not visible yet. That hiding can be really helpful. So, but really this is, which one here? The creating a Google Sites page is really helpful. Gavin did a really good job making this really robust and helpful for folks to be able to put in different things, see how to do it. Having some notes on style and accessibility is really helpful, talking about adding alt text. So I highly recommend that you reference this page while you're making your Google site if you have any questions.
That'll be
All
great.
right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone for being here today. I'm going to go ahead and end our meeting. If you're like Jimmy and we're really hoping that I would talk more about Parent Square, my apologies that I wasn't able to get to that in this session. But keep me in the loop when you have questions, or if as a group you'd like to have more training on other topics. And I want you guys to feel like you are supported and not just wandering out in the tech wilderness on your own. You do have people you can reach out to, and we're happy to help with anything that you need. So thanks so much for coming today. Have a great start to your school year, and thank you for everything that you do. So take care, and I'm glad I got to spend the morning with everyone. Thank you for coming. Bye.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.